You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode number 33, The Challenge of Luthor. Hello and welcome to the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Steeven, and 1,000 miles over there to my right is another host, Mr. Ed Moore.
Howdy.
Hi, Ed, the Golden Age Guru. Ed, the Golden Age Guru Moore.
Yeah, I am far from being a guru. That is distinctly tongue-in-cheek. Although I will say, between this and another podcast that I'm listening to that I've been reading along with, which is about Golden Age Batman, it definitely has me interested in reading more of the other heroes that are around now that have gotten their start around this time that Batman and Superman have.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, Flash, Hawkman, Green Lantern, Sandman, Wildcat, Atom. The whole JSA, which is, I've always been a fan of the JSA, and they're in the process of coming back right now. So all of those characters, and between action and detective comics, well, you see a fair number of those. Add a couple more titles, and you've got like the first 8 or 10 big time superheroes that DC had. So I've already done all of the Golden Age Dr. Fate for myself, and so I'm really starting to get interested in Golden Age DC. Yeah,
I got that first. Just recently got that first Golden Age Batman collection. And, I've been meaning to dig into that, and so you have to. Tell me, what's the name of the podcast? I'm going to forget. I'm going to ask you at some point on Twitter to remind me.
And that's good, because I don't know that I can remember it correctly. I believe it's Become a Bat.
That sounds familiar. I remember you talking about it on the forum.
I think it's something like that. Yeah. And I am up to like Batman 7 and Detective like 58, 59, 60, some around in there. And I believe they're a couple or 3 Batmans up with another set of 3 or 4 detectives. So they're up. Okay. They'll be up almost by now to Batman 10, and probably in the 70 to 75 issue range for Detective Comics for stories, because each episode, what they do is they take a Detective Comics strip and one of the strip out of the Batman, whatever Batman issue they're up to, and they talk about those 2 stories in one episode. Oh, is that the new one?
That sucks. Oh, that's her Allie. I don't know if you can see her.
Yep. Yeah. I can see her.
Okay, I'll let you down. Good Lord.
Oh, goodness. Not a fan spicy. Of the picky-uppy.
Yeah, she is spicy.
So, Steeven, do you have a podcast recommendation for us?
I actually do, and it's funny that we started talking about Batman, because it's the Batman Audio Adventures. Okay, is the podcast I'm going to recommend. This was actually something I just stumbled upon. I'm always a day late and a dollar short. I've often joked in my head that whatever podcast I do, it should have been called Day Late and a Dollar Short, because the books I read, everything I come across, I always find out. I'm like, hey, look at this thing I discovered. Yeah, we've been watching that for 3 years, buddy.
That came out last year, but okay, good, yeah.
But this was something they put out on HBO Max. It is audio. You can watch the videos on HBO Max, but there's nothing going on there. They have like a background, and or you can listen to them through the app. But season 1, which is 10 episodes, was put out on all the major platforms. Season 2, which is wrapped up, I'm assuming will be coming out to all the major podcast platforms soon. But it's audio drama, Batman. It's a lot of fun. It's very, I don't want to say it's silly or it's a comedy, but it is very somewhat tongue in cheek. Most of the voice cast are like ex Saturday Night Live people. Jeffrey Wright does the voice of Batman, he's got an awesome voice. You got Rosario Dawson as Catwoman. Chris Parnell is the narrator. You got Melissa Villaseñor as Robin. Seth Meyers is on there as Jack Ryder. Brett Spiner plays the Joker. Bobby Moynihan, the Penguin. Kenan Thompson, Commissioner Gordon. So, just hearing that, Kenan Thompson is the voice of Commissioner Gordon. you're never going to take Commissioner Gordon very seriously on this show if Keelan Thompson's doing that voice, because I don't think he can say anything that doesn't sound like a joke, because he's just he's very funny. Jason Sudeikis is on there as the mayor. Brooke Shields is on there. Tim Meadows, Fred Armisen. I'm literally only 3 episodes in to the first season, the first 10 episodes, and it's very fun. It's a fun podcast to listen to, and it's done very well. It sounds great, and it's a lot of fun.
Did you know they did a comic adaptation of that?
Yeah, the first or at least one issue I know is on DC.
Yeah, that one came out in May. I thought that I had seen that there was an ongoing that had just or is about to start. As well. So and it's written by a lot of these folks that do the voices. Some of those, because some of those, like the SNL people, they're writers as well as performers, and so it's really fun. Doug, my wife is a Wonder Woman fan. Now, having said that, there is no way on any planet that I could possibly afford to purchase Sensation Comics. That is, or even the vast majority of the first volume of Wonder Woman. No. So to read those books, this is the way here that you said. Not necessarily. I think I've seen War Years books for those 3, but these big Golden Age books, compilations that they've started putting out, I hope they start doing that with others of the characters. But in that, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, they've got the big 3. That may be all that they do. But for the vast majority, let me stop and throw this out there also. Terry is as much a pet person as I am, Stephen, and she thought that the newest addition to the family was pretty there.
She's a tuxedo cat. Is what they,
I believe that is Terry's favorite marking of cat. I don't know, is tuxedo really a breed, or is that however that goes? But Doug, 90% of my comic book readings have been Marvel, so DC is far and away just a huge blind spot for me. Going back, here we go, making another appearance. Not quite as fussy an appearance as the first time, but oh wow, not happy.
Right? She's spicy, isn't she?
Yeah.
You can hear that?
Yeah. But the Golden Age, plus 2, Marvel's Golden Age just has they weren't even Marvel, although this wasn't really necessarily DC at this time either yet. But Marvel's equivalent books have just a completely different feel to them than what a lot of these do for DC. I'm already familiar with that for Marvel from years and years and years of experience. So DC's Golden Age and hopefully into the Silver Age is really starting to draw my attention. Every year, at the beginning of the year, I make a list of 2 or 3 or 4 reading projects that I would like to get through over the course of the year. Not that I really have room between keeping up with a lot of the contemporary stuff and reading for the way too many podcasts that I do. But I do like to just, give more goals that I never get to accomplish, just like the rest of us do. I'm really starting to lean this year to starting some manner of read into, because I'll never be able to read through, of DC, starting with these initial Golden Age appearances. I was actually today, I went down a rabbit hole of first appearances. What did I look at? First appearances for characters starting in 1939. And so a lot of these names that I threw out and a lot of the characters we've seen referenced in action and that I've run across in Detective are on that list. And I was looking at that thinking, how can I pick up these books? How can I pick, because, the actual books are just way out of my price range, of course. So, I think that's what I'm going to do this year or next year, 23, is do some Golden Age DC. Used to be tough for me to read, but I've read enough now that the Golden Age is, it's a lot more palatable to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a shame. I hope they do, like I would love them to do the Green Lantern and the Flash and
Hawkman. These are
Hawkman and Green Arrow and all those. Yeah, really like to see all that stuff.
Particularly those characters that were in the JSA, Sandman, the Atom, the box, not the Shrinky Atom, the other Atom, Wildcat. Who else? Johnny Thunder.
Black Canary? Was she part of the? Was she a Golden Age?
I think that's debatable.
Yeah.
She wasn't in any Golden Age that I've really seen, but once she started appearing in the Justice League, they made a connection back.
Yeah.
She did, I believe. Now, I am not the expert on this by any means, but there's a book that started in the Golden Age called All-Star Comics. Mm-hmm. That's where the JSA started. It ended, or it stopped, and then in the middle 70s, I think, yes, the Spectre, in the middle 70s, they started it up again at the original numbering, wherever they left off. When that All-Star Comics started going, I believe Black Canary was a member then, which kind of retconned her as being a Golden Age. And then you have this whole mother-daughter changing dimensions, which one is she kind of thing too, because apparently you have this Earth 1, Earth 2 argument. Wonder Woman is there, isn't there? I think Black Canary is a replacement for Wonder Woman as an original female member, depending on, Only getting into the Golden and Silver Age books lately, never enough time. Yeah, never enough time, ever. And unfortunately, the more I read, the more I want to read. Yep. So it's gotten pretty rough.
All right. Banter complete?
Yes.
All right. So today we're looking at The Challenge of Luthor, which is the first story, which is the first story.
You got to throw up your fingers like that. Yeah.
It's the first story appearing in Superman #4. This was written by Jerry Siegel with art by Paul Cassidy. The only credits I can find. Mm-hmm. Superman 4 has a cover date of spring 1940. According to Mike's Amazing World of Comics, it has a on sale date of February 15th. 1940.
Which makes it what? It came out 1 week.
The week before Action Comics 23, which we talked about, just not that long ago live, but for those listening at home,
about a week or so ago. Yeah.
All right. So let me tell you what happened in this issue. This synopsis comes from Mike's Amazing World of Comics. Clark Kent is assigned to investigate an earthquake that has shaken Metropolis. Professor Martinson has developed a new weapon that caused the quake during a test of the machine. When Clark visits Martinson's lab, he meets one of Luthor's henchmen. He tries to trail the man back to Luthor, but Luthor destroys the man's plane by remote. Superman goes to the army camp to guard the machine against theft, as Luthor has already kidnapped Martinson. After his men are defeated, Luthor issues a challenge to Superman. Superman agrees to compete against his nemesis in tests of speed, strength, and resistance to injury. Luthor is forced to concede when Superman bests his every invention. Martinson is released and Luthor leaves the battlefield. The contest was merely a distraction, though, as Luthor's henchmen were given time to steal the earthquake machine while Superman was busy. The master criminal uses the machine and begins blackmailing the world. Superman learns from Martinson where Luthor is hiding. He leaves to confront his foe, but is temporarily bested by the earthquake machine. Recovering quickly, Superman is able to demolish the device, but Luthor escapes. Martinson kills himself to prevent another device from being made. Ed, what'd you think about this one?
Good stuff, man. Continuation of the Luthor story from the previous 2 Action Comics. Although maybe it wasn't supposed to be, but it was. It is. So.
Yeah, this is, because we talked about that, I think already. I think Luthor does say in this one, we meet again or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I didn't have many notes because it was just, I do want to ask a question. Go ahead.
I really got to love a villain who here's what they do. They get some kind of device that is capable of destroying the world or cities and uses it to hold the world ransom. You just gotta love a character like that. That's what they do,
And they sit around like this and say that they are evil.
Yeah. I didn't spend 4 years in evil school to be called Doctor. Well, I don't remember the line now. I said it wrong.
Yeah, that's okay. We're there with you. We know the reference. Panel 15. Are we going to count that as a hanging by Superman? I mean, he reached out and he reached out to grab himself to stop himself from falling. Okay.
And this guy I think we're going to count that as a hanging from a ledge.
Okay.
Which
how many is that? The only one in these 4 issues.
Yeah.
That's the only one in these 4 issues.
Overall,
how many? It's 1, 2, 3. Let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's the 13th time in, what is this, 33 issues, 33 stories. So.
But this guy here, this dude that works for Luthor that's posing as Martinson, I think this is the guy that I mentioned in the last episode, that the artist who drew Luthor in an upcoming strip thought that this guy was Luthor, and that's why he drew him bald.
Yep. Made him look like that's not Luthor, dog.
I think the big thing I want to point out here is panels 35 and 36.
Okay.
Where Luthor is projecting his face, I guess, onto a tree.
Onto a tree. Well, he projected onto a rock in the previous story. So,
but at least the rock face, he made it look like the face was part of the wall.
True.
It's just this weird head. Just when I was reading this and my eye caught that, when I turned to this page, my eye caught that as something that I'm going to be getting to in about 4 panels. I immediately went, what in the flip is going on here? Is he in the tree? What is his head sticking out of the tree? But that is so weird because it just comes out of nowhere. A challenge, Superman. Who said that? And he turns around and here's freaking Luthor's head on a tree or projected on a tree, or they don't tell you at all.
No.
What is going on there? They just, I love, that was really funny.
I do want to mention that the first plane that Luthor uses to drop a bomb attempting to kill Superman this issue, that plane is a really cool looking plane. Panel 19, you can kind of see it in panel 21, but it's blowing up. But panel 19, it's reminiscent of a, what is it, a 109, P109 Messerschmitt. I forget which one had the 2 parallel fuselages in World War II. And
looking at that page, because I'm looking at this on my desktop using the Kindle reader, and it shows me 2 pages at a time. So I can see the previous page along with this one. And it reminds me that, first of all, we get this moment here where the thug posing as Martinson, pops Clark in the back of the head. And Clark he possesses the ability to temporarily halt his beating heart so he can pretend that he's dead. Is that new? That's a new Superman power.
I think that's pretty new. Yes.
And so Martinson, thinking that he's dead, chucks him out the window. Out you go to a mangled death. That's hardcore.
I killed you, but I don't want you in here.
Yeah. It's not enough that you're dead. I want your body broken on the streets below. That's hardcore.
So this was this actually the first death of Superman?
Ooh, maybe. He's faking the whole time. He's a big faker.
Yeah, he is. He's done it repeatedly.
So let's talk about these contests real quick here.
Okay.
So the first one is the race,
right?
Where Luthor has these 2 planes that are apparently super fast, and Clark or Superman races them on foot.
Right. They are super stratoliners.
Yes, that's right. Super stratoliners
is what he calls them. And yes, they are flying. There's 2 of them that actually race. Yes, there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
And Luthor is he he's in one, but he's not piloting it, is he?
I don't know. They don't really make that clear. The cockpit is in the very back of the plane.
And you can see, but you can't see any difference in the people. But Luthor is in one of the planes. Yeah, he's
in one of them, yep.
And Superman is running. So the airplanes are flying and Superman is running, and that's the race.
And the panel 43, I got to point that out, as Superman is running, I'm assuming across the top of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
That's how fast he can run. He looks back at the planes behind him and he yells out, "Get a horse."
Get a horse, yes.
And I love that because I can't explain why I do certain things, but there's been at least one occasion in which we have passed people on bicycles and, in the car. And I got nothing against people riding bikes, got nothing against them. But for some reason, I felt the need to roll down the window and yell, "Get a horse." I don't know why I did it, but I did. And so that's why that makes me laugh. They often, Siegel often, I've noticed in a lot of these, Superman at this time is kind of a wisecracker.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of one-liners like that.
Yeah, much more so than a point earlier on.
Yeah,
you can, if you have been reading straight through, you can definitely see that there's this line for a before and after. He right now he is much quippier than he used to be. Yeah, he has at least one every story at this point. Oh yeah. Usually more than one. It's like two or three, and they're always when he has the upper hand.
Yeah,
they're not quippy to start something,
right?
Which would be more smartassery than quippy. But they're always when he has a la Spider-Man, the way Spider-Man will do it.
Yeah.
When he has the upper hand, he will throw something out there to show that he has the upper hand verbally.
Superman's is more because Spider-Man, his was always, he would do that because he was afraid and uncomfortable. And it's the only thing that he could do to help him, because really, in the beginning of his career, he was a teenager fighting,
right.
Crazy monsters and stuff.
He's high school, yeah.
Superman's is almost more braggadocio, He's like, they'll be shooting at him with the gun and he'll be like, "Ha, I needed a massage," or something like that, Yep. It's just always like, you silly humans almost, but I find them funny. So the second contest is to see who can rise the highest above the earth and still return safely.
Right.
So one of those the Stratoliners is flying straight up, and then Superman is jumping.
Well, he just jumped one time.
Yeah,
there's nothing else to jump off of. So
just one leap into the air, and it takes him up so far that they are beyond the gravitational pull of the Earth. And Luthor's not in this plane because that plane apparently just gets lost into outer space, I'm assuming, because they're just like, they just float off.
Yeah.
Superman, on the other hand, kicks his feet, blurring like propeller blades, and is able to propel himself back down into the atmosphere and can fall back toward Earth. And, you mentioned in the last episode, the way he jumps around and, these different things that they do now as he's jumping, that you just got to wonder at some point, did somebody ever just go, can we just make him fly? We know eventually he's going to fly.
Right.
But that it didn't necessarily come out of the comics. But I just got to kind of wonder why, like, this is a good example. Did it just never dawn on them that maybe he should be flying? Or was Jerry Siegel very, it's something I'd like to know. Was he very against the idea? No, Superman can't fly. He has to be able to still kind of figure out how to do things while he's jumping through the air. It's too much of a cheat just to make him fly. Would be really interested to learn why it took so long for them to finally go, all right, let's make him fly. It's just so much easier. Because he might as well be flying at this point.
Well, especially now for this contest.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So the next.
So he wins both of these so far.
Yes,
Superman has won both of these contests.
because he's able to land safely while the other guys just float off into nothingness, apparently.
Here, it tells us that Luthor's vessel drifts to certain doom in the clammy clutch of outer space.
Yeah, so those guys are dead.
That's, pretty definitive there.
Yeah. All right, so the next one is, I guess, a feat of strength.
Yes.
He uses his science to magnetically make a giant boulder seem light enough that he could pick it up with his hand.
Right. He nullifies the massive weight of this huge object, and the object was just a tremendous boulder. And
then Superman picks it up with ease, and then juggles it with the one plane that didn't float off into space.
He's like, I can lift this and this.
Yeah. And then the third contest, I guess, is invulnerability.
Fourth
contest, invulnerability. So we start with Luthor chucking a hand grenade at him.
How is this a contest?
Yeah, because ultimately it's just Luthor trying all these different things to try to kill Superman. And then when Superman's like, no, none of this works. All right, let me toss you against your plane and see what cracks your skull or the metal.
That would be the other part of the competition, the contest. It's like, I tried to blow you up with a grenade. Okay, let me see if I can squeeze your head like a grape.
Yeah. Luthor just like, nope, you win. Obviously you're going to be able to kill me by throwing me against my plane.
How is that? Yeah.
It was
grenade.
Really dumb. Yep.
He fires a cannon at him, and then he tries to douse him with some poison gas. Yeah. And then Superman's like, okay, look.
It was just an excuse for Luthor to try to kill him.
To try to damage him.
Reading this, while it never comes up in this story or the next one, I wouldn't be surprised if we find out later that this was all done on purpose to gauge Superman's strengths and weaknesses. That's what this feels like. Knowing Luthor, what he's going to become in the Silver Age, this is very much I knew I wasn't going to win this contest. And of course, we also know that it's just a distraction. So his team can go in and steal this machine.
But still,
I think it's the twofold is what's happening here. It's the distraction, and Luthor is also collecting data.
Yep. Even from the very beginning. So needless to say, Superman wins all the contests.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we find out that it was all just a distraction. So Luthor's people could go steal the machine. Superman goes to get Luthor and to get the machine. And he asks the Professor Martinson if he remembers where he was held during captivity. And he was held in Satan's Canyon.
Awesome name. Yes.
Yeah. So we don't really get this. Yeah. When you think of his base of operations in this story compared to Action 23, Action 23 is way better, but this one's got a cooler name.
Yes. Well,
because it's in Satan's Canyon.
Well, they had a little bit more time to think about it. So,
yeah. And he going after Luthor, Luthor basically has a bunch of things set up, running through a canyon, and Luthor lets off a lot of explosions. So a bunch of boulders fall atop Superman, which he just punches out of the way. Wolves attack him, which that was kind of silly. But in the end, it's like he fights off the wolves, and then suddenly, as he's coming out of this pit, wherever the wolves were, he's rendered unconscious through a new gas. We don't see that. It's just suddenly they're pulling him unconscious out of this pit. I thought that was very weird.
And so obviously this is a different gas than the one from the contest, because that one didn't work.
Yeah, so maybe he had two different ones, and he thought, all right, well, if this one doesn't work, then maybe the other one will. And
I don't know.
And then we got another ray here that he fires at.
What color is the ray?
It's green.
Yeah. Now it causes earthquakes.
Yeah,
but it's green also.
Yeah, that's the machine. And so it's all happens so fast. It's just like the ray hits the ground opens up, Superman falls in, the ground then closes up on him, and then bam, he burrows his way out within a panel, destroys the wall to get into Luthor's fortress, destroys the machine. Luthor apparently is gone at this point. And then literally the very next panel is Clark opening up the door to his office to find Martinson dead by suicide.
I wish they would have done the drill thing for him getting out of this. That would have been so awesome to see.
Right? Where he just spins and turns into a drill.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And they didn't think about that. So
yep.
Well, how do you get through something? Well, you can drill through it. Oh, yes.
Yeah, but he burrows his way. I mean, he could have done that. They just don't show it. They just there's a lot happening between the panels in this story.
Especially here at the end.
Yeah.
It's almost like, the script was written out, and then as they were drawing it, they're like,
we don't have enough room to show.
You still have half your script left, and there's only 2 pages left to draw. So what are we going to do?
I can either draw the panels really tiny.
Yep. So there's a lot of interstitial drawings that you have to use your head for here between the panels for sure.
And I want to point out that when the wolf attacks Superman, the text box says, instead of facing a shrinking Violet, the wolves are flung back, and he's saying, "Don't crowd me." Yes, he's punching the wolf away.
Another quip.
Yep. Very quippy, this Superman. But that's how it ends. Martinson's dead. The editor, I'm assuming this is Superman's editor. So Martinson killed himself, eh? He must have repented inventing such a terrible weapon. Clark says his secret died with him. It will never menace civilization again. And then that's the end of that story.
They're talking about a dude that killed himself, man.
Right.
Come on.
They just don't care. Very heartless people this time. In this time,
man, oh man.
Like they might as well just be, it felt very much like when you see a cop show where the detectives show up at a murder scene and they're just very casually, this is their job. They see this all the time, and it's like, it looks like he committed suicide. Yeah, it very much felt like that. Like I almost feel like the body's there laying at their feet, and they're just talking about him as he's looking down at the body.
Almost, yeah.
But that's all I got to say about this one. There's another one of those little one page. This one's called "Attaining Super Strength" stories, where it shows how if a kid just exercises and eats right, they can become strong.
Yep.
And beat up bullies.
Tommy Blake.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by eating right, it's
cereal for breakfast.
Good old milk and cereals.
Yep.
That's all you need. They thought that's what they thought. Milk and cereals.
I knew people that lived on Fruit Loops and Captain Crunch in college. So that's
part of a balanced breakfast.
That's all it takes.
Yep. All right. Anything you want to say about this one?
No, sir. I'm good.
Anything else? Okay. All right. Then I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode of the Superman Super Show. If you want to drop us a line, ask us a question, or just provide some feedback in general, you can send an email to thesupermansupershow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter under the handle @SoupsSuperShow. Or come join in on all the fun over at the forum at forum.justanotherfanboy.com. All of those links will be in the show notes. So until next week, folks, my name is Steven. That's Ed. And this is the Superman Super Show.
Bye, yo.
Later, tater.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Action Comics magazine.